Hello, Jalander.
Hi, Andy. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, man.
Hey there. Nice to see you back in there.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
You hear me? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So you're back from holidays, Andrea? Were you still in Canada last week or?
Yes, I just got back yesterday.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. An extra week in Canada.
Yeah. It was really nice. They actually had a heat wave, which was nice for the weather, even though they had some wildfires in Alberta.
Wow.
So,
Did your
but,
family
yeah.
come there as well then, or were you there by yourself?
No, I was there with my family. So
Yeah.
they enjoyed Vancouver while I was at the conferences.
Yeah.
And then we flew together to Calgary, and from there we went to a few national parks.
Cool. Great.
That was very nice.
Mm-hmm. It is. So yeah, some video maybe if I have. Yeah, I have video. Good. I'm in office today, which I normally are not, but today
I'm there in office too. Yep.
Yeah. I'm a famous Ericsson green background.
I'm just kept sitting in cubicle, private cubicle. Yep.
Okay.
I'm in garden office today.
You're outdoors.
Is that the virtual or real one? It's
No,
real,
it's real. It's my home.
Oh, okay.
Ah.
That's cool.
So, as a recap of last week, just quickly, we had Ben was in our vocabulary meeting last week in the workshop on Tuesday, and we discussed the connecting events more or less all last hour. Tracy Reagan was there sometime as well. And Ben had a proposal written in, was it HackMD or maybe Git Google Docs, I don't remember now, which we discussed a bit. It wasn't exactly how I had envisioned it, but yeah, some discussions about that. But then he said that he would create a draft pull request after that, and then discuss it internally in Apple on Thursday last week. And after that, hopefully promote it to be a full pull request. But I haven't yet seen that. I'm not sure. Maybe I haven't looked for enough. Hi, Brad. Welcome.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Everybody.
So I haven't caught up on my GitHub notifications recently. Is there a pull request now, or have you seen some?
I have not seen a pull request from Ben.
So then I guess we're still waiting for that in some sense. I'm not sure how much more we should talk about that when Ben is not here and the pull request is not written. But anyway, he had done some progress on the work, even though there was no pull request last meeting. So it seems to be progressing, and there are discussions internally in Apple apparently about this issue. So I guess we could have other things to discuss. I know Brad created a pull request as well. Shouldn't we discuss that one?
It was very minor. It was just for.
Oh yeah, that's it.
I noticed that the licenses didn't have the authors part to the copyright. So in all of the Apache 2 licenses, it just didn't have the CDEvents authors or collaborators as the sort of owner of that license, if that makes sense.
Of course. Yeah, I see.
So I raised some issues as good first issues for some folks to do it to the other repos as well.
That's great. I think we can approve that small pull request right away. I provide my approval. So, Andrea, I'm not taking over. Did you prepare to drive the meeting? Sorry.
I had some agenda. Yes, I wanted to bring some updates from also CDCon.
Great.
But just put the link. Which repo was the PR, Brad?
So I did it in the Go SDK, the spec, the GitHub actions, because those are the ones I had on my computer, so it was easy for me to do it fast.
Oh, okay.
And then I raised issues in the Java, Python, and I didn't do one in the CDEvents website. And then I think the community repo doesn't have a license, so it's pretty much all covered.
Cool. Thanks for that.
Okay. There was someone that already put their hand up to do the issue as well. That might have actually been done already for the Python.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. Thanks for that. It's important to have this up to date. So
Yeah, it might even be like a small thing to bring up at the TOC, because I see a lot of other open source projects forgetting it as well. I'm not sure the implication, but I don't know, doing it properly is probably the best. So possibly like a reminder at the talk or something. I'm not sure if it might not even warrant a talk about it. It's quite a small thing. Maybe what I can do is I can have a little look at some repos, and if I do see that some people are forgetting, then it might bring a discussion, so I can do a bit of research for you.
thanks, Brad. Yeah, that'd be useful. I think even just a reminder. Even if there is no action directly for the TOC itself, but because we have project representatives in the meeting, so it's good to bring it up.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So far, I had a few things on the agenda. Shall we go through those? I think it feels like a long time ago, but before CDCon, we made the 0.3 release. And the only thing left in there is the release task that they haven't closed yet. Everything is done. I think we probably did announce on Slack, but I think what we discussed in the past is that we would write a blog post about it, so that's still pending. Yeah, so I plan starting a draft, but if anyone wants to volunteer or contribute to it, please let me know. I mean, I'll make it a public attendee anyways. So. Okay. Yeah, and I put here, sorry, my notes were not very tidy, but I put here some updates from CDCon. So we had the CDEvent summit there, which actually was quite a few people in the room. So I was positively surprised by that. And so I made a small introduction presentation about CDEvents, and then we kind of opened the floor while everyone was having lunch, because it was during lunchtime. And then we opened the floor for questions and discussions, and we had a few discussions about several topics. The first one was about the event broker. There were a few mentions about challenges using Kafka. And yeah, so it would be great to have a shareable feedback on Kafka experience, but we had done during the meeting. But then the question was, should it be the broker, the message broker part of CDEvents, or should it be part of the reference architecture? So Fresca was brought up as an example. That Fresca uses a opinionated set of tools, but that is done as an example to represent the reference architecture. So maybe we could do something like that, work with the CDF and seek best practices as they're defining the reference architecture, and have some proposal already as what the broker could look like for CDEvents. Then there was, and feel free to stop me if you have questions or comments. There was some questions about platforms and CDEvents. And there was, the idea was that CDEvents could be used as a standard interface towards platform. And so the idea is submit CDEvents to the evidence storage, and then the platform takes over from that, from there. So, and I think in the diagram that we have that I use in a few presentation. Let's see if I can pull it up. Sorry, no. Right. So this is the diagram I use in the presentation there. And we always have I have the broker here and events going to the store. And then some components here on top that does policies and triggers to trigger next stages in the workflow. But what I understood from what Fidelity is doing right now, for instance, everything goes into what they call evidence store. And then things are taken from there to take decision. So maybe this diagram could be altered a little bit to reflect that type of usage.
So they don't trigger directly on events on the broker, but rather on like something stored in the store there, which could be maybe an aggregated view of events or raw events. Yes. Or what have you, or a group of events, maybe some kind of subscriptions. Exactly.
Yes, typically it's an aggregated view because you can have multiple facts that you need to accumulate, and then you decide on doing something else. So I think it would be good to reflect this into a feature like this, because it seems that that's also, as far as I understood, what SAS does. Brett was there as well from SAS. And so maybe we could update that feature to reflect that kind of usage architecture, and include a feature like this in the CDEvents documentation or website somewhere to give a overview.
So it would be nice to help explain it to people better if there was a event and just sort of showing what event you use and what like place, and just sort of seeing the flow would be quite cool, if that makes sense. So right, you have like pipeline trigger, and then you just show a small part of the specification just to sort of visualize like, okay, this is cool, but what events or specification can I use for this workflow or pipeline? If that makes sense. Maybe I can draw one up and see what I mean.
Yeah. No, I think I get it. Yeah, definitely. I think it's at this level, I think it's good to have both maybe, to have like a feature like this where you just show the kind of general architecture, and then like a dive in where you show the event type, if it makes sense, just to avoid the feature becoming too busy.
Yeah, this is beautiful how it is. Just maybe for some crazy technical people that do want to just see that, this is like a 50,000 foot view, and then you can go down to like a 24,000 view and just go a little bit deeper each time with the picture.
Maybe with like links to examples where you can see the actual content of the event or something like that.
That's a good idea.
Okay.
Then it's not so crazy in the picture.
All right, next, there was a question about open feature and modeling feature flags. So whether we should model feature flags and configuration in general in CDEvents. And today we don't support those events, but it's something we could support and model more accurately, sorry. Some more comments: feature flags changes are runtime events with no deployment involved. And I guess here is, was one of the opinions in the room at least. So whether this is something that is a runtime or is it a deployment? And so maybe CDEvents could help make common terminology here. So that was one of the comments. And another comment was from the room is that if we put feature flags into deployment, a change to a feature flags would require a new deployment event. And the risk with that is that then when you get too many events with too much granularity, it becomes difficult to manage.
I think if we would have like feature flags as code, for example, and the pipeline as code as well, then the feature flag is just like a property of the pipeline code in some sense, isn't it? So then it comes from the source change instead of from deployment, maybe. So yeah, it's like a conditional statement more or less in the pipeline, I guess. So what should feature flags do? Isn't it that they put on or off some feature in the flow, or is it actually in the product that passes through the flow, or
in the product? So okay. in open feature is like you can control feature flags in the product through a service. So it means that when your service is executing, it looks up to feature flags service, okay, whether a certain feature is available or not based on certain rules. So it gives you more flexibility or granularity than just saying yes, no, I guess. But in general, I mean, you could have like features enabled or disabled even in a config map or in a configuration file. And
yeah, I get it. Yeah, I was thinking more feature turning on and off features in the CI or CI/CD engine itself, but now it's about the product. I see.
Okay.
So then it's something that happens after deployment, then I guess. On a running system, you switch on or off feature flags.
Yes, I guess, especially if you're considering it from a open feature point of view, it's probably a runtime thing that you do in open feature, but still you could have, I guess, the configuration that you have in open feature managed by some kind of GitOps approach. So if stored in Git and then applied, and then would be still a kind of deployment. I guess it depends what you mean by a deployment. So if it's changing a configuration, changing a value in a database, is it a deployment or not? Or
it's a configuration change. I'm not sure. To me, it doesn't sound exactly that it's a match to CDEvents, the scope of CDEvents, but that can be discussed.
Okay.
It might be something to bring into the value stream management discussion, actually, because it's probably in the value stream management flow anyway, to see how a running system behaves and if features are turned on and off and so on. So I think it matches there, but that scope might be a bit wider than CDEvents itself. Also my just quick reflections.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, we can bring up with them then. Then there was a question, how do we get CDEvents in big cloud vendors? And some discussion was around the approach we could follow. First of all, having projects in CDF, adopting CDEvents. That I think it's we're doing today, explain the benefits of CDEvents at POC level. And then we could have users that use CDF tool, adopt CDEvents, and then can also help explain the benefits. And once that in place, it becomes easier to talk to commercial CI/CD tools first, and finally to cloud provider last. So that's kind of the proposal about this. And there was a question, what about CDEvents for GitHub Actions? And so we mentioned that we are building an adapter, but really, eventually, it would be nice to have like CDEvents natively supported there. And we did go and talk to the GitHub booth at the OSN Summit the following days, and they basically pointed us to the public roadmap and recommended that we submit a proposal in the public GitHub public roadmap, because there are kind of project managers there that they review those, and we can start the discussion there if you want. And also, I think, I don't know, Brad, if you had any updates in you were discussing about the adapter side.
Yes, so I'm actually going to start that tomorrow. So I was waiting for the others to teach them, but they just didn't. They didn't come, so I'm just going to have to do it by myself now. So I will start that tomorrow. I should probably be able to finish it tomorrow even. At least the first iteration. So I'm not sure if we have time in this meeting to discuss it. Maybe I can wait until you finish the agenda and then we can talk about it afterwards.
Yeah, we can finish the updates from the conference, and then we can switch to that.
Okay.
Yes. Almost finished anyway. So the comments, cloud is not the only place we deliver software. Creating momentum there would help too. Hosting CDEvents presentation for the benefits of other projects was also an idea, to go to other project communities and do presentations about CDEvents. And we discussed about visualizations for events. It would be nice to have an open source framework, maybe based on React, to visualize events. Visualization can be good to demonstrate the value of CDEvents. And there is similar project in the JavaScript space, and UI for CDEvents would be really a cherry on the cake on top of standardization. Can add great value. So there were a few comments, and I put here a link. Evan mentioned that he's interested in working on that, so he created an initial issues in the community. So if you have opinions on this, please go and comment on this issue. And maybe in the next meeting, which is more friendly time for him, we can bring this up and discuss this further.
I know that Jalander, Adam rather, is working on visualization part for CDEvents as well a bit currently actually. But I don't know if there is an issue for that, which Adam is working on. Do you know that, Jalander?
So like we're exploring some use cases kind of thing, what needs to be exactly visualized by using CDEvents. So that kind of POCs that we are running into. And yeah, and Andrew also, like one of my team members, also is working on visualization, like using Grafana, yeah, and Prometheus in the backend. So yeah, so there is also like some kind of POC that he's running into. Maybe we can have one round of showcase here with CDEvents community when that is available from both of guys, Adam and Andrew. Yeah.
Yeah, or even heads up, maybe discuss now since since Evan has shown interest as well, if we should join forces somehow already at this stage. That makes sense. Maybe to have a separate meeting about it, or I'm not sure. We could for sure have a dedicated meeting of visualization, I think. It sounds like that. Adam,
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And Andrew,
Andrew Fenner is.
He might not be on GitHub, is he? I think. Or not in this project a bit.
Yeah, he might not be a member, which is you can't add him. I don't think it's a bit annoying.
well, I see at least Jalander and Adam, and then you can maybe share it with them.
Sure.
But yeah, I agree with what you mentioned, Evan. Maybe we can have a dedicated session for this topic.
I think it's quite connected to the connecting events issue as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Because
Definitely
if you want to visualize something that has some kind of connections, then you need to connect it.
Yes, I think there is something.
Yeah.
Oh. Sorry, Emin. Right.
Oh, go on.
No, I was just saying that there is something that can be done to a certain degree today, but there is a lot of uncertainty. So when we have a better story for connecting event, it will be much better. Cool. I think finally, the last thing was last couple of things that were mentioned. It would be beneficial for things like Artifactory and other registries. We had a plugin that generates CDEvents automatically. And I think Laurie mentioned that she's been discussing it within JFrog about CDEvents. And I've seen an invite in my calendar to discuss about that. So I think that's related to that. And also that end user can help with adoption in general, and by talking to vendors about features I'd like to see in products. So if like end users say, well, we prefer a product that generates a CDEvent, of course, that helps driving adoption. Yeah, so that's kind of the updates I had from the summit. Then on the second day of CDCon, I had my CDEvents talk, and Michael Crenshaw was there from Argo project. So after the presentation, he reached out to me and he said he definitely wants to implement CDEvents in Argo CD, and that he's going to start the process on Argo side. The main one of the use cases that he has in mind is that today it is possible as part of Argo CD to run a deployment when there is an update to an image on a container registry. So let's say there is a new version of a container image registry, a new tag added to the registry. Argo CD will pull the registry, see the new tag, generate a pull request to Git to track the update in the deployment and also push the new deployment. And so what they would like to be able to do is, rather than pulling the registry, having events so they can react faster to that. And so CDEvents would be perfect for that use case, as long as container registries would send things like artifact published event. And I think that's part of the scope we have in mind. So we need to continue working with the registries as well to make that happen. But yeah, so he definitely was very positive, and he said he's going to drive the process on Argo side. Yeah.
Are you talking about Argo CD or Argo image updater? Because they're two different projects. Unless
Argo CD, as far as I understood.
Because Argo, have 4 sub-projects. And unless I haven't been updated, Argo image updater sits standalone to Argo CD, so it's not actually integrated yet.
Okay, I was not aware of that. So maybe that.
Yeah, let me send you a link. Yeah.
But that sounds like a 5th project. That's nothing I've ever either before.
So they have, rollouts, Argo CD, workflows, events,
workflow
and image. Yeah, image updater. I'll send it to you now.
Okay. Cool. I was thinking when Argo CD has also deployed an artifact or a service, then it should send an artifact deployed event, or what's called it, so service deployed, or what we call it now.
Yes. He said he would be interested also in Argo CD, also generating events like you were saying. I think that's.
I think from Ericsson's side also there is a requirement to support CDEvents in from Argo CD. So they need Argo CD to send and receive CDEvents.
Yeah, so it's a good match there. Yeah.
Right. It does look like it's in Argo CD now. It used to be a sub-project, but they must have moved in.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, I just sent that. We have a Captain repo with examples of this as well. That I'll try and find.
Cool. Yeah. So. And I know that is also interesting for Red Hat. So. Yeah, that would be a good one to have for sure.
So Brad, that integration with Captain and Argo CD, is that intended to be based on events, or by it looks like web integration or cloud events?
So there's a couple ways you can integrate with Argo. There's the notification controller, in that you can emit a CD event wrapped with a cloud event, and then once you send that, you need to send the context back to Argo. So Argo can expose a webhook, which, let's say you run a test. So I send it. I notice a sync within my repository. I want to know if this is going to work. So I therefore send the CD event to do a test. The test finishes, and then it sends the event back to Argo to say, please continue, the test passed. If that makes sense. So.
Well, both yes and no, I guess. Well, I guess Argo CD shouldn't send a notification to someone telling what to do, really. But it can, of course, say that now I deployed this, and then Captain could react to that and say that, okay, you deployed it, and now I've tested it as well.
Yeah, so there's around five conditions that it can send a notification: on sync, synced, deployed, and then like a failure. So there's different scenarios where it will actually let you send that event. So you can choose whatever one that you want to subscribe to. It's a lot to. It's better to show you than to sort of try and explain it.
Yeah, probably.
Without a UI or something.
Okay, but what I will do, I will reach out to Michael and see what he has done, and maybe see if we can sync all together on. I guess, I mean, there will be a proposal that needs to be written. So he mentioned that they have a process like in the Argo project to define features. So there will be a design there, and maybe we can use that to discuss how we want to integrate. So I think, as far as understood, that the first point of interest for him was like this place where they pull for images, and then the second to produce the events, to provide like interoperability. And I think in a third place that we discussed earlier would be also to have a plugin as part of the Argo the Argo events project that could consume CDEvents. But yeah, so I was really happy to see like strong commitment from Michael on this. Hopefully this will help get the existing POC more integrated into Argo.
Yeah, and it's good to see that Argo people are involved and interested in CDEvents in general as well, not just Argo CD, but Argo in general. Yeah.
So the last thing I wanted to mention quickly, so we can maybe then pass to other topics, is that then the rest of the week after CDCon, the Open Source Summit was there, and Tracy Reagan was one of the keynote speakers, and she spent one slide on CDEvents, promoting the project, saying it's an essential part of the tool chain. Sorry, for CI/CD. So she made very strong promotion for CDEvents. So it was good.
I heard of it, listened to it afterwards. It was great. I told her actually last week as well on the CDEvents meeting.
Great. Yeah, so that's all of the updates. And thanks for the feedback on the various parts.
It sounds like the general takeaway is that CDEvents has a lot of traction and gaining a lot of traction, and it seems like different tools communities are interested in adapting or starting to support CDEvents.
Yes, I think that's a good summary. There was also one end user panel, which I did not include here in the notes. But yeah, Brett from SAS was there, and Jer, I think, was there from Fidelity. And also they mentioned CDEvents and as one of the important projects for them to get this, to get interoperability and help them build their platforms. So it was good as well.
Cool.
We still have 20 minutes left. I think it would be good, since you're here, Brad, if you wanted to chat about the GitHub adapter.
Yeah, so I guess it would be good to sort of align on like what the first milestone for this could be, right? So if we look at the spec, at the examples, we have quite a few examples. So the way I want to use it at the moment is just like a simple pipeline run and the test suite that Ole's working on. So I guess what do you see for milestone for this? I mean, we can keep it nice and simple to get started, or the real thing that changes in the JSON is I guess the content. So does this action if you're using this action to send an event, we can have input parameters for like, the context version, ID, source, type, timestamp, and then just let people send their content through as JSON, or do we want to make it more similar to the Go SDK where it sort of does it all for you in a way, if that makes sense? Any thoughts there? Maybe I can come up with what I think is a good first milestone, then I present it back to you, and then we just say, okay, this is not good for this reason, or this is good because of that. Is that perhaps the easier way of doing it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can tell you what I thought it would be good
Sure.
for
Yeah, please,
initial version, and that
yeah,
that's only my. So my wish would be to have like from the source code version control events section.
Yeah.
So maybe starting with the change events. So they're like webhooks that GitHub will send when a PR is created or review, merge, abandoned, and updated. And so it would be to have like these 5 events, CDEvents sent as a consequence of those webhooks, right? And so in terms of change, there are a few fields that are available. So ID, source, type, and repository. And I think those would be my wish would be that those are like set automatically. And then I guess we could take the entire JSON from the original webhook and put it in the custom data section so that you can still have access to the original data.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's
okay.
That was like what I was envisioning.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I agree as well. I think that would be a good start.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's
then I guess
code.
what you were into there, Brad, was maybe more events to be sent within a GitHub Action pipeline itself, was it?
Yes. Yeah.
That's test events and those things within a GitHub Action pipeline, and that's maybe the second step to do, or also interesting, of course, because then you would see the GitHub Action as your CI system in some sense, or
yeah, because I spoke to Adam Gardner about this today. He's doing the same thing as what I want to do in GitLab, which is quite interesting. So we're talking quite a bit about how we can design this. We had a bit of a session today saying what we would like to do. He wants to send so he's doing a pipeline and he wants to essentially get some tracing in it, but he wants to send those events as they occur and then visualize it in Jaeger or whatever tracing tool he's using.
Mm-hmm.
And all that happens before the pull request is merged, right? Or the merge request is merged.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, it could be both, really. I mean, it could be before and after, I guess.
Okay. So to me, I would call that a pre-merge pipeline, which is very much in line, I think, with the scope of CDEvents as well, to send or to handle notifications on the things happening also before the change is merged or the pull request is merged, but also after, of course, yeah.
Mm. So we're starting to work together on it quite a bit. So we should have something to present next week, and then we can. It's also good that we're doing GitHub and GitLab at the same time, so we can make it in a way that's sort of as most generic as we can. Because they're obviously, 2 different tools.
That's great. I think the pipeline and test that you mentioned would also be very interesting. Absolutely. So that if you're doing that all that within GitHub or GitLab, you can see the whole flow. So of course, you know, it's up to you and what most interesting for you, more relevant. It's but I think, yeah, starting from the source events, the pipeline events, the test events, all I agree would be definitely in scope. Also, I wanted to mention specifically for GitLab, we had some conversation in the past with Kevin Chu, I believe, from GitLab, and there was a thread on the public GitLab issue manager about CDEvents or events in general for GitLab. So if you and Adam are building something, some POC for GitLab to do something like this, I think it would be really valuable to bring it back to that audience on GitLab side, because I think Kevin at the time also looking for use cases or to show the value of having events in those side.
Yeah, sure.
So I think it would be really good to.
Yeah, because if I do it for my work as well, it's like a user story as well, which would be good, like as a promotion type thing to say, like, we're adopting it. This is why. It would be quite a good story also. A bit of like marketing in a way. But yeah, we can definitely catch up with him about it. We also discussed running self-hosted runners, and then the hosted version could be a little bit different as well.
Okay. I need to go and check for the notes. Okay.
I had a question as well. So I think,
Sure.
Jelana, you were speaking about APAC regarding Prometheus. Is that to store the CD event in Prometheus somehow, like with labels, or how does that work?
On the visualization, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned that maybe you might be doing something, or someone's doing something with the CD events and then Prometheus as well. I was just wondering if do you know any more context of that project?
Not much, but what I can think of based on the demos he has given. Like, we have a Grafana to show the front end of it. So, but all the type of events that will be storing in the Prometheus and visualizing in the Grafana as a nodes using a node plugins inside Grafana.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks. Yeah, I can definitely update at the next one how we go. I'll start working on it tomorrow.
One question on the events, or GitLab or any other product like which produce CD events, right? So is this like some set of events that is suitable for specific CI/CD tools that we implement to produce, or it's like all kind of events we give capable of producing events? I mean, like now it's GitHub. So is this only source code version control events and any other events also like that will give a capability of producing from GitHub?
I think since both GitLab and GitHub has now possibilities to run pipelines within themselves. I mean, GitLab has had it for a long time, GitLab CI, and now with GitHub Actions, you can have it in GitHub as well. I think that means that GitHub itself goes into the CI engine state somehow. And with that, of course, it can send CDEvents for those pipelines and task runs, I would say. But the source control part of both GitLab and GitHub should, of course, send SCM events. That's it. And in GitLab, it's very much integrated with GitLab CI. So then you don't really need to get out of GitLab at all in your whole pipeline. You can do everything more or less there. But it should still, of course, be possible to run pipelines externally as well. And that's why we would have CDEvents sending, or GitLab and GitHub sending SCM events, which could then trigger potentially Tecton workflows or Tecton pipelines or Argo workflows or something, and then feedback information to the pull request or merge request as well in the SCM system.
Because a really cool use case at the end is like if Adam went off GitLab onto GitHub and his stuff still worked, and then I went off GitHub onto GitLab and we swapped, and because of the interoperability, our tools still work with both GitHub and GitLab. That would be a good story at the end.
So I mean, the source code is in GitHub, but you use GitLab CI to run the flow, or?
No, like for example, let's say, okay, my tooling for the work is going to be, I use GitHub, Tecton, TestCube. I go off, I don't want to use GitHub anymore. I want to use GitLab. So because of the interoperability between GitHub, Tecton, TestCube, I can simply go over to GitHub and just send the same event. It will still work.
Yeah, exactly.
For my different source control. Yeah.
So that's the story, kind of story we should write for interoperability benefits with CDEvents. Yeah, for sure. And I think also if you expand your CI system or CD system, say you today only have everything controlled from Tecton and you run like test cases within Tecton as well and those things. And then all of a sudden, and you then send the test events from there. But then all of a sudden you could extract the testing part from it and run that through TestCube. The consumer of those events shouldn't too much notice that there is a difference in the engine behind it, but the same events more or less come out, or the same results come out. So that's also an interesting use case, I think, to look into when you expand your CI/CD ecosystem in your own environment. The consumers could still understand everything that happens.
Yeah, and think of like a company like a bank, for example, where DevOps is hard, you know, it takes a long time, and they're still running Jenkins. If they wanted to, most of them are sort of hard-coded into Jenkins. It's so hard for them to get off. If they started like doing CDEvents there, they could, you know, start moving out systems slowly to try other systems out as well, and not just have Jenkins pipeline that does every single thing with glue code everywhere.
Sounds
Would be
very
another.
much like our situation in Ericsson. We are trying to get out the Jenkins, but we have a hard time doing it because of the events are not implemented everywhere.
Yeah, it's hard.
Great. Anything else for this? Do we have? I think we do, but just do we have issues or way to track the GitHub and GitLab work?
I will make them. I will make them this week. I need to make them. This was really great to talk about it because now I'm aligned on the scope and it's not just something that I'm going to do that I think needs to be done. So it's good.
Thanks, Brad. Much appreciated. Okay, well, we only have 3 minutes left. I had other possible ideas for discussion today, but I don't think we have much time. Maybe next meeting we can start planning for the 0.4 and set kind of the scope of what we want to have in there. Maybe very quickly in terms of SDKs, for the Golang, the 0.3 been released. This is Java, not SDK. So for the Java, there's been a lot of progress. I don't know, Jalander, you want to provide an update on the status there?
Yeah, what is there currently is with the 0.1.2. That's after a stable version of 0.1. Yeah, it's 0.1.2. So we'll be working towards another releases or making the automatic CDEvents creator so that we have an issue. And we'll be working on next. Yeah, so that's the issue we'll be working on next. So the SDK creator, automatic SDK creator is what we'll be working. Yeah.
Is JReleaser integrated yet?
Not yet. Yeah, releaser is not related.
Cool. And yeah, I mean, once V0.1.2 is out and the automation is in place, I guess, do you know what next step would be? Do you plan on making 0.3 version or maybe working on automation for producing these new versions? So it's not planned yet.
Yeah. The plan is to work on the automation first for the Java SDK. Yeah.
Okay.
So the next version we can take as 0.2 and 0.3, right? Or we can just work on 0.3 from what we have currently in 0.1.2 is available in master.
Yeah, so next versions are 0.2 or 0.3. I mean, if making a new version is mostly automated, I guess we could make both releases.
Okay.
Anyways, to do the 0.3, you will need the updates from 0.2 as well. So I guess it would be nice to have the SDKs following the spec releases. Cool. Yeah. Very quickly, I think on Python side also, Evan has been working on release automation. So hopefully we will have a 0.1.2 release at some point soon.
One quick thing, like we can add the Spinnaker consuming and producing CDEvents also is the PRs are created and it's under review. So I need to check with Spinnaker community members to have PRs reviewed. So I think once it is reviewed and approved, so Spinnaker, like CDEvents, will be officially available for Spinnaker to send and produce and consume CDEvents.
Oh, but both of them, both consuming and producing. Okay.
Yeah, right. I can place the PRs here probably.
Yeah, yeah, that would be great. Thanks, Jolanda.
It's in the chat.
Okay, I've got to run, everyone. It was nice to talk to you.
Yeah.
Bye, Brad.
Bye.
Well, I think we can close.
Yeah, so there are 5 in total.
Okay.
Right. Yes. I think I pasted that.
Great.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Let me know if there is anything you need from me. I don't know Spinnaker code, so I'm not able to review, but if there is anything you need in terms of
Yeah, so I asked Ben to like add more reviewers to it, so I'm not allowed to add any reviewers, but yeah, if I forwarded these PRs to Ben as well, so I'm not sure like if he is into any CDEvents meeting, so we can just ask him to add more reviewers from Spinnaker community and get the review going. So that's what we need. Yeah.
Great. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
All right. Have a good rest of your day. Bye bye.
Yeah. Bye.